What's up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Profit Picks. If you are new, we do always start the show by being transparent. Yesterday, I had a loser, a stinker on the Chicago Sky. Got plus 105. It closed, minus whatever it was. Doesn't matter. Of course, they get smoked. So, a couple losses in a row now in WNBA. Got to get back on track there. Good to be back with you, Vino. How's everything on your end?
It was no better for me in the WNBA yesterday, Ski. I had Chicago as well. One brutal part of my handicap was wrong, was I thought that maybe Chicago could match up interior wise against, not that they didn't even match up, but Cardoso had to do it all herself and they were out hustled. I don't know. Washington didn't do anything special. They just played harder than Chicago did. And then I followed it up with, again, closing line value, guys. It'll find the garbage can just as often as it'll find your pocket. And I had under 162.5 Golden State, Portland. Veronica Burton ruled in about 15 minutes before the game starts. And we know the rest, 95-77. So 0-2 WNBA yesterday. Look forward to getting back on track. But there's not a lot. I said it yesterday. There's not a lot making sense right now. We'll see if we can make some sense out of it today.
We do get to talk about some NBA today. So maybe we should start there. Appreciate you guys in the chat tapping in. We will start with the Knicks and the Spurs. NBA Finals Game 1 opened up -5. We see 4.5 now. Total open 217. Looks like 217.5. I should have the injury report wrote up here. I know Mitchell Robinson was questionable, but I thought they said he was going to play, which is verified. So, yeah, Mitchell Robinson is still questionable. Nobody on the injury report for the Spurs. The Knicks have had, 8 days off prior to this game? The Spurs have had 3 days off. Knicks coming off of back-to-back sweeps. Spurs coming off of, taking out the defending champs in the 7-game series. I'm curious how you view that, Do you view it as, Spurs are the more battle-tested, the more ready? Or do you view it as maybe it took a lot out of them to win that series? And on the other side, what do you think about the Knicks in their back-to-back sweeps? Was it they didn't play anybody, they didn't have competition, or are they just playing so well? What do you think about those things so far?
Wow, I could almost go to the middle of all of those, Ski. For San Antonio's concerned, let's start there with mindset. We heard Wemby talk yesterday about, they're pretty elated that they beat Oklahoma City. That's a big deal for them. And in that press conference yesterday, he said, we got about 32 hours to get ourselves back, into the right mindset for this series. But we still are a little bit celebrating beating OKC. I think that team is pretty even keel watching them all season long. I don't think they'll have a problem being up for this game, especially because it's at home. Once you walk out there, the crowd energy, you realize it's a game. And it's for the championship. So I don't think that San Antonio is one of those young teams that's just happy to be there. We see that a lot. We hear that phrase a lot in championship matchups, but I don't think San Antonio is that team. So I'm okay with them. The Knicks, a little bit harder to figure, Ski, whether or not, when they played Cleveland in game 1 last series, they didn't wake up until they were 22 down in the fourth quarter. Like, they had the long layoff. They were rusty. They did manage to come back. The same exact scenario here. Long layoff, maybe rusty. But I have to believe that the Knicks know what happened against Cleveland, and it doesn't repeat itself here. So I think both teams are going to be okay. As far as the question about the Knicks competition so far in this NBA playoff season, defensively, it's been brutal, right? I mean, you can't hold it against the Knicks for scoring 130, 140 against these teams. But let's face it, Atlanta's a bad defensive team. Philadelphia's a bad defensive team. Cleveland's got the worst defensive backcourt assembled in, I don't know, Mitchell and Harden are not a good defensive backcourt. And so, you're supposed to do what it's not what San Antonio is going to bring defensively. Let's put it that way. But to their credit, the Knicks aren't just beating these teams with 108 points. I mean, they're shooting 60% from the field and whacking these teams. So I think offensively, I know way back when it was discussed, and you mentioned it a little bit, they made a little bit of a switch the way they run offense. And ever since they started running offense, San Antonio hasn't seen it yet, right? So I kind of feel like both teams can score here. I will say again that San Antonio, I think, is a far better defensive matchup than anything the Knicks have faced yet, but I still don't want to take their scoring ability away from them. So maybe look it over. Here's something, though, offbeat that I found real interesting. San Antonio loses against the spread 3 times to the Knicks this year. They go 1-2 straight up, but 0-3 against the spread. However, the fourth quarter in 2 of those games, one of them, Victor Wembanyama was on a minutes restriction, so he didn't play the first 7:49 of the fourth quarter. Sat. The Knicks came back and won. I think that was the Cup game. San Antonio took a lead into the fourth. Wemby was on a minutes restriction. They didn't have him for, like I say, nearly 8 minutes of the fourth. Then there was a game a couple of weeks later, and I'm staring at my notes here to make sure I get this right, where Wemby didn't play the final 10 and a half minutes of the game. So basically no Wemby in the fourth. And they still came from behind and beat the Knicks in that game by 2. Without him, they outscored him 41-30 in the fourth. You're going to get Wemby, unless he's in foul trouble, for a lot more than what the Knicks have seen so far this year. I think it works 2 ways. San Antonio obviously becomes better offensively. They obviously become better defensively. So when I start adding all of this up, I think I feel more comfortable skiing game 1 by playing over, even with the Knicks layoff, even with the potential for rust. I just think this new way of playing offense for them, and the fact that they didn't show up for the first 3.5 quarters in game 1 against Cleveland, I think they learned from that. They're veteran enough. And they're a different offensive team than Oklahoma City is. Oklahoma City, you just focus on SGA and let the rest do what it does. And without Jalen Williams, it's really not that difficult. But the Knicks, a lot of options, boy. We see OG scoring like crazy. We see Bridges scoring like crazy. The bench, Landry Shamet has done well. So I think I'm pretty settled in here with over the price 218.5. I think what it is right now.
Over, you can get a 217 is the best number I see out there right now. A lot of 217 and a halves.
Yeah, there it is.
I would, I do agree that both teams are going to play up tempo. Um, I worry though about that layoff. I really do. And also, I mean, as good as the Knicks offense has been, let's not, you know, discredit their defense. Let me just take a look at their schedule here. Knicks opponents, 93, 93, 104, 108, 114, 94, 102, 98, 89, 97. They've been playing some defense. You can say all you want about the other teams, they didn't have the best defenses, but they had offenses, right? And the Knicks held them down. So I think that it's too many. I don't feel as comfortable running to the window to bet the over in this game for a couple of different reasons, like I just mentioned. As far as side, I think you almost have to throw away majority of the games these teams have played each other. Like the way the Knicks are playing offense right now is not the way that they were playing the last few times that the Spurs have met, or they met the Spurs, and I think that's the difference maker. That's what made the Knicks play so well right now. So I think that they can draw Wemby away from the rim, which is something OKC was kind of struggling to do. I think that Cat is how do I say? I forget the word right now, but the X factor, I guess if I got to call it, Cat is the X factor. Like his shooting ability to keep Wemby, out of that paint, and his ability to play make as well. I mean, it's a lot of different ways for this Knicks team to score. I think that they'll have more success than the Spurs will have in this first game. I think the Knicks are the right side. What do you? Any last thoughts here?
Yeah, I'll just say a couple of things, Ski. As far as total is concerned, the Spurs' last 12 playoff games leading into this, the last 12 games they played, 10-2 over the total. 9 of those went over this number, 217.5. Knicks, even with good defense, 7-3 over the total, last 10 games, all 7 over 217.5. A lot of that because they've scored excessively. And again, you gave, both sides of the point. I guess it's which side of the fence you stand on. Do we trust Nick's newfound offense running a different style that San Antonio has not seen? Now, they may make adjustments in game 2, but I think game 1 tonight, you have to weigh that against the rust factor. Which one do you think is more prevalent here? I kind of think the Knicks are going to be prepared and their offense will work. So that's why I'm on 217.5. Like I say, there could be defensive adjustments made to the Knicks the way they're running offense now. But I don't know that San Antonio's had enough time until they get on the floor and see it to stop it. Everything I'm saying here could lead anybody watching us or that will watch us to maybe take a shot at individual team totals. Knicks 106.5 is a team total here. It seems like the Knicks get to 107 by accident most days now. So maybe you could look that route, but I don't want to exclude either team from the equation. So I'll land on over 217.5, Skee.
All right, let's talk a little bit of WNBA now. We have the Tempo and the Liberty. Get over here on the odds screen. Opened up -9.5, down to 8.5. Total open 172.5. We'll call the consensus 171.5. As far as the injury report, the same two for the Tempo remain out. Sabrina out once again for this Liberty team. Sabrina's only played one game. So Veno, I did talk about this game earlier, and my thought process was the Liberty really been, for whatever reason, struggling to score their past few games. They play a couple teams that play hard, they play better defense, or play okay defense. But if your offense is struggling, the Tempo are one of the teams you would like to see to get back on track. They've given up 90 plus in every road game so far this season. Liberty's team total is 89.5. Thought about that. But then I also thought, Tempo can score too. And do I want to exclude them from the total? Any thoughts from you on Tempo and Liberty?
Well, the only thoughts I can have is to agree with you because I played both ends of that, Skee. I played Liberty team total over and I played full game over. The Tempo are playing. First off, let me just say this. The problem Toronto, in my eyes, will have with New York tonight is that Toronto just is not a size team. And inside at the rim, they give up a bunch. They'll probably give up a bunch tonight. Liberty have had a pretty decent layoff here. But where they're concerned, I think it's a little more helpful because they're a little more veteran. So veterans like to have a few extra days off or a little extra time off, come back home off of a couple of bad performances. I think they'll be there. And then Toronto's just becoming one of these teams that has multiple scoring options at the pace they play in. In fact, when Julie Alamon came back last game, and let's not forget that Sandy Brondello comes back to coach here, right? She was New York's coach. She's Toronto's coach now. This is her
Good point.
return back to New York. But I was reading an article where she said, she's got 2 rookies in the backcourt here, Kiki Rice and Julie Alamon. And she said they're both going to play together to go along with what's already been a pretty dominant scoring backcourt, or at least I guess Mabry's playing wing now, the 3. But they've got a lot of speed, a lot of young legs, and a lot of scoring ability around the perimeter. So I think both can work here, Skee. I like full game. I like New York to get over that team total. I think you made a great point because we're probably getting a little extra value here just because Sabrina's not playing. But like you said, Sabrina hasn't played all season long, basically, except for one game. And she was 4 for 16 in that game. She really wasn't much help. In fact, there might have been more disruption fitting her in than having her sit out again and having to try and regroup without her. So I would think that, at least my thought process is the Liberty get to 90 here. You talked about Toronto's defense, and I think Toronto's offense is good enough to make this thing go over the number.
All right, so we're pretty much in agreement on this game. You can't even. I said maybe Rob Veno will help me choose. No, you can't help me choose. He likes both.
Yeah, I'll just throw it all at you.
All right, Mercury and Storm opened up -5 for Mercury, now 7. Total open 162.5, down. We'll call it 161 as a consensus. Sammy Whitcomb out. Still no Izzy, no Malonga. That's all I need to see. Seattle Storm have shown me enough. I've seen enough. They're terrible. Like it's not. It's not. I don't see anything they do well. There was like one game where they got hot and shot like 40-something% from three. This team stinks. I know the Mercury haven't been much better, but this is a game I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole right now. At least anything from you, Mercury and Storm.
I'm thinking in my head, I've never said to you, I don't want to talk about this game as many years as we show together. And I'm with you. Like, not touching it with a 10-foot pole is a better way to put it than I don't want to talk about it, because I see this line going up, and who in their right mind is just running out there and pounding Phoenix? Maybe they know something I don't know, but we talked a little bit about them yesterday. Alyssa Thomas doesn't look right. Nothing looks right about this team. Since Akani came back, she doesn't look right at point guard. It's just they're not in enough of a groove here for me to want to lay 7 with them. You can't even use the fact that it's a cup game here, Skee, because cup game makes no difference to either one of these two teams. This is just a game with who stinks worse. And right now, maybe Seattle does stink worse because they don't have, at least on paper, they don't have the shooters that Phoenix does. But I don't want to lay it. I don't want to take it. I don't know who's running to the window and pounding it, but it's not me.
Yeah, Spurs. I mean, I'm sorry, not Spurs. Storm couldn't even make 5 3-pointers last game. I'm good on this one, man. I'll go ahead and pass. So that'll wrap up the show for today. Before we do a best bet segment, let's see what we can put up there on the screen. We do still have the buy 3, get 3 free. 6 days comes out to just $69. Definitely a good way to be involved if you would like to check us out. Outside of that, I'm going to pass it to you, Veno. I'll ask you if there's anything else you'd like to promote. And if you have a best bet for the show, love to hear it. If you don't, no worries.
There's days where I sit here skiing, just as you're talking, different things go through my head. And I'm thinking to myself, when we used to do an NBA show as a group for Wager Talk, we used to say, man, the outtakes for that show would be a good show in itself. And the outtakes that me and you have before the show and after the show would be great for the listeners to get in on. We didn't leave best bets yesterday because it was $5 Tuesday, so I will leave one today. Maybe this will help you. I'm going to use the Liberty tempo game over the 171.5. Get the best price you can. Like I say, with Sabrina out, maybe it'll come down even further later on. I'm already involved. But I do think Sandy Brondello wants to win this game. I do think her team can score, and I think the Liberty can score. So I'm going to use that as the best bet. Toronto, Liberty, over, full game over 171.5.
All right, good stuff from Veno. I just, I will endorse that, and I'm not going to leave anything extra. I'm just going to decide if I want to bet that or the team total. But, thinking about that Sandy Brondello angle, that is a good point. Maybe I want to include the tempo tonight as well. So good stuff from Veno. That will wrap up the show. So always appreciate you taking the time to cap these games with me, Veno. Chat, we appreciate you guys as well. We'll be back doing it again tomorrow. Best of luck on all your action.